It's early morning. The sun rubs sleep from its eyes. A light snow covers the landscape, deadening the sound of the incoming flock of turkeys, anxious to help themselves to yet another breakfast feast of cracked corn. The silence is eerie as they sneak into the outdoor cafe. Today's their lucky day. Deeper snow would force them to lower elevations and away from these easy pickings. Their usual food preferences, green weeds, acorns, juniper berries, and insects, especially juicy grasshoppers, are in rare supply during the winter. But today, they feed well. Nothing can interrupt this happy moment. Well, almost nothing.
We got in here well before first light, and we were hiding in hunting blinds a short distance away from the bait, which is attracting the turkeys. And then once the right group of turkeys comes into the bait, we have a little detonator that ignites 3 rocket charges simultaneously, and it pulls a large net over the top of the feeding turkeys. And then once the turkeys are under the net, that's when the fun begins. They're trying to fly away, they're hopping all over the place, squawking.
You'd be squawking too if your breakfast was so rudely interrupted.
Some of the other turkeys were running away, trying to figure out what happened to their buddies. We were running out of the blinds to try to get a hold of the edge of the net so that we kept the rest of the turkeys from getting out. It gets very exciting very quick.
While the crew scrambles to hold down as much of the net as possible, some turkeys escape until reinforcements arrive.
Shortly after they shoot the guns, we come up here on the hill and all sorts of birds, 42 of them, I guess, under that net.
Right over there was Chris.
The boys and I and John all got to jump in the middle of them and are on top of them, calm them down a little bit, and then pull them out of the net one by one. And now they're letting the boys, which is really a lot of fun for my sons, let them get right in the middle of tagging these birds and putting backpacks on them, aging them and sexing them. It's been a lot of fun so far.
I was just grabbing boxes and just setting the birds in the boxes, helping them close the boxes up and having a good time. It was kind of fun. It's just you kind of had to be careful not to let them get away, but it's really fun.
Got one down there.
Right, Joel.
Leash down here. Leash over here.
I gotta tell you, it's one of the greatest feelings ever. Be able to be a part of something where we know our work is going to go towards putting some turkeys in a spot where they'll be able to breed and better establish themselves, and be a part of the conservation effort is something special.
Yes, something very special. Today's assault is actually the culmination of a very successful turkey translocation project.
We're in Game Management Unit 3C, south of Pinedale, Arizona, and we're capturing turkeys for a translocation to Mingus Mountain in Unit 19A.
This area was selected after careful study to assure that the local population wouldn't be adversely affected.
We're capturing birds in areas where we've seen good poult production or good young bird production from this previous spring, and we're also capturing birds in a unit where we don't have a fall hunt. So instead of us hunting these birds in the fall, we're using this as basically a transplant source.
The first release that was done to Mingus Mountain was back in the 60s, and there were about 25 birds. Those did real well until the late 70s. There were even hunts, and the hunters did fairly well, and then those birds dwindled out. Back in 91, there was a release of 50 birds to Mingus Mountain. Those came from the Bill Williams Mountain area, and those birds didn't take so well. So now we've caught birds yesterday and today. Those will go to the head of Ash Creek in Mingus Mountain, Unit 19A. The conditions seem to be right that the birds here in the Pine Top area are doing real well. Populations have grown quite a bit, and the birds there's a few left on Mingus Mountain, but they're not doing real well. So this is a supplement, and it seems like conditions are right in that area too once birds are put there to reproduce and do well again. So we're going to see.
One of those favorable conditions is assuring a good mix of turkeys being released.
We got a fairly good mix of hens and younger birds. There weren't a whole lot of mature toms or gobblers. So hopefully after a few years, the young jakes that we got would be able to reproduce and get that population going.
I think this will help actually balance the birds in other units, and I know there's lots of turkeys around here in this unit since the fire, and it's just helped the birds a lot, and I know that it helps with the populations of the birds, and I know it's really good for the turkeys, and it's just fun to be a part of it. Turkeys are the best thing in the world.
I think we pulled it when there were so many birds underneath it that all the birds jumping up like this was letting the other ones out from underneath it. It was crazy.
After the turkeys are removed from the nets, biologists get to do what all biologists like to do: weigh, measure, attach transmitters, and all that other fun stuff.
You want it so it's not tight on their back. Feel how I can put my fingers underneath there.
It's fun, and that I had a blast and had a really good time out here just messing around. We're kind of out here with the NWTF, and Game and Fish invited us out and just invited us to come see how it's done and just help them box these birds up and get them ready to transport.
Oh, all right.
While the kids all thought it was great fun, the parents had more important reasons for helping in this conservation effort.
One of my favorite things in life is to hunt with my kids, and I've gotten that because of the way that I was able to hunt with my father when I was a kid. And some of the best talks my boys and I have ever had have been out here in the hunting woods, whether it's turkey hunting, deer hunting, elk hunting, or otherwise. And you know, the one thing I'll always be grateful for is I've got kids that like to be in the woods, and it's largely because we're outdoorsmen and we enjoy being out here rather than on the streets. And I appreciate that. And the NWTF and the Game and Fish afford opportunities like this for my kids to be involved in something.
Well, you know, there's a lot of guys who live their whole life to get an elk tags in the rut so that they can hear that bull bugle, and I got to tell you that for me to be sitting in the woods with my back against a tree and have a tom turkey thumping and gobbling and doing his thing is just as exciting, if not more exciting, than being out with those elk.
And of course, the ultimate goal is to be able to hunt these re-established flocks someday.
It's hard to say when they'd be able to hunt. It depends. When the birds were transplanted in '91, there were about this number of birds, 50 birds, and those were never huntable. The population never took off where we felt comfortable in opening a hunt in that unit. So we'll have to wait and see. These birds have a radio transmitter on them. Of the birds we caught yesterday and today, 20 birds received those transmitters, so we'll fly once a month and be able to tell where those birds went and what the mortality rate is. If the population seems to be doing well, maybe in a few years we can open just a real limited hunt on turkeys.
As with all Game and Fish projects, we couldn't have had so much success without the dedicated support of our volunteers and cooperators.
The National Wild Turkey Federation supplied a lot of the funding to allow us to go to a unit where the turkeys are doing well and then release into a population that needs a bolster. Also, the private landowner on Mingus Mountain offered a release site there that he's got plenty of water with stock tanks and plenty of food up there, and he allowed us to go onto his private land to release these birds, so we appreciate all that help.
I truly believe that if people can experience wildlife and nature and the beautiful, you know, country that we live in, I believe that it'll be something that they'll grasp onto and that they'll be able to enjoy, and that they'll make it a priority in their lives to be a part of nature, to be a part of the woods, and a part of conserving these wonderful animals we have.
Well said, John. Well said.